I just come up here on top of the roof. The reason why is that up here I've got snake plants. They give off oxygen. It's important. I got tosi plants, give off oxygen. I got back over there in the back, I got people tree. They give off oxygen. So, and it just isn't a little bit. They affect an area. According to how big a people tree is, it affects an area. It can make more oxygen than an oxygen machine. And of course, you could give it the title analog. Analog oxygen. Whereas a machine does not make analog oxygen. Nor can a machine make analog hydrogen. You can naturally get hydrogen, the 3. In other words, instead of the H2, the H3. You can produce it and then take the advantage of it. Naturally, that's analog. Well, what's the difference between analog and digital? Oh my God, don't even get me into it. Analog has come down by natural ways. It has developed in a very natural sequence. And although it's not observable, every element, every previous element is in there. Digital, no. It disconnects itself. Yeah, it disconnects itself. Okay, so now, what are the elements? There is ego, pure ego, but very difficult for people to have pure ego because of our egotistical ways, our bad egotistical ways. So pure ego is a very difficult thing to have within us. So, commencing from pure ego, the pure ego, from it, in combination with 3 modes: ignorance, passion, and goodness. Ignorance, passion, and goodness are like the fire in a reaction. You want to produce something, you have to add something so that it activates it. So the activator is ignorance, passion, and goodness. And they are only able to come into existence by a living entity. It's dependent on the living entity. Either the living entity acts in ignorance, acts in other words, their actions, they produce it. By their actions. So I'm giving the ingredients so that you see the difficulty of reproduction. You can't reproduce it. And it is damaging. What is reproduce? It may be some help in some way, but in a large view, in a very technical view, it's not helpful at all. So now, analog goes, again, pure consciousness into false consciousness, false ego. I identify with something false. Now this activates this world. The other, the true ego, activates the spiritual world and spiritual existence. So they're both activating. And it's actually the same ingredient. It's just the direction is one for something that is real and something that is false. So false ego, from its activities, from its motions, I'm the activator. I actually am the activator. I'm within the equation. There has to be a living entity. This is the law. If there's no living entity, then the equation can't go further. So there has to be what kind of a living entity? For pure ego, the living entity is of course pure, and it's The whole atmosphere is pure. There's no lust or anything like this. But now, in the other one, there is a tinge. There's only a tinge. It only needs a tinge. It needs only a tinge of curiosity. Just a tinge of curiosity in a negative sense. Then that, of course, the curiosity is, I'm the active portion. So I activate something. And you activate false ego. False ego, anger, fear, all these things are in the false ego, the false ego. You become fearful, you become angry. So now in the action of the false ego, further going down the line, because I'm always activating it. Activating it to find out something that I'm not. I'm trying to identify with something that I'm not. But I'm just pulled into this way of thinking. Okay, so now the false ego, by being activated by me, either in the mode of ignorance, either in the mode of passion, either in the mode of goodness, it goes to the next step. From ego, it goes to mind. Mind, it goes to intelligence. Intelligence, it goes to the Akash, or the ether, or you could say the space. So now we're coming into more into what we understand of this world, the space. So now, within this space, there has to be in coordination. Now, it's not that sound is not in ego, is not in false ego. No, it's there, but it's not able to be accessed by those that are in the false ego. So to access sound, for us to access sound, it has to come into the ether. Ether carries sound. It may, because some people say that ether is empty. There's no empty. You cannot make something empty. There's no zero material nature. There's no way to make zero material nature. Material nature is always there. So those that say a vacuum, ridiculous. There's no vacuum. That vacuum is actually ether, pure ether. And you could produce sound through it. If you were in it, you wouldn't be able to hear it. But you can produce sound through it. Because my eardrum, it actually is waiting for air. So ether is above air. So now when ether becomes activated more in movements, it becomes air. So that activates feelings. You can touch, your skin touches, there's feeling in your body. So sound, then the movement of air, and now the activation of the movement of air, it's easy to see that we're getting into our area of knowledge. When air is moving and everything, you can see the wind blowing and this, that, and the other. And also, it creates lightning. Yeah, it creates lightning. The further development of air is in fire or lightning, and it gives sight. So now we've got sound, hearing, we got air, feeling, we got fire, seeing, the ability to see, and fire, you can see the condensation of water. Where fire is, you'll see condensation of water, because that's what it produces. The disappearing of the fire, it goes to another step further, and it produces water. And when this water goes to another step, it produces earth. So now, what's the importance of this? Well, earth, analog earth, not digital earth, but analog earth, it contains all this, and it contains it in that balanced manner of nature. It contains all this. It's not separate from it. So I could actually, and this is not very well known, I can actually, if I pull air, if I pull air out of a building, I don't burn it out, but by an action I can pull air out of a building, it will become dust. And the dust is only there because of the very high grade iron. It just goes back to its iron core. So everything is going back into itself. And why am I saying pulling? Because actually what it is the Lord, He exhales and all the creation is coming out. And then He inhales. So the exhalation, you could call it a fission. You could call it the atomic bomb, just to put in bomb category. And then the inhalation is the fusion bomb. The fusion bomb, what it is, it's taking the element back one step and maybe 3 steps. It can take it back from earth to water. And now someone may say this is ridiculous. Well, when they dropped the atom bomb, the two reactions were there. And some people's bodies completely disappeared and left only water. If it's a heavy iron, of course, it just becoming dust in a fusion action. So why state all this? Because people should understand that there is no way digital can produce analog. There's no way. Why? Analog has that whole beautiful progression and nice natural progression. Now that nice natural projected, it has that whole nice natural projection. That's and each one of those elements depends on the other element. It is not so. Here, when we do it in a digital, you take analog, you convert it by a digital converter into digital. What have you done? 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. And if you understand, it's nothing something, nothing something, nothing something, nothing something. Understand? Nothing something, nothing something. So that nothing something will never go away. So if you take analog and you convert it to digital, this phone has to take analog, it has to take my voice, convert it to digital to send it someplace, and then your phone takes it and it takes that signal, that digital signal, and give it somewhat of an appearance of analog. It cannot do fully analog. It cannot be natural. And what is not unnatural there is it's missing the progression back up. We want the progression back up because that's what we want to do. We want to go on the process of the inhaling of the Lord. The inhaling of the Lord. It takes us out of the entanglement of earth, out of the entanglement of water, out of the entanglement of fire, out of the entanglement of air, out of the entanglement of ether or space, and then the mind, the mind and the intelligence. That's the really hard part, to get out of the entanglement, because I have like shackled myself to all these things. And most of all, the mind and the intelligence, they've been really good at work to shackle me nicely. So I want to be drawn back in by the inhalation of the Lord, and Him take off those shackles of the mind, the shackles of the intelligence. And of course, all the way up until we get to the false ego. And the false ego, I want to get rid of this identification, this false identification. So it's a beautiful progression, but the progression is not at all able to be reproduced by AI. I mean, I'm going to use at an advantage to be able to even talk to you, to be able to you even see me. My light isn't so good, but better to speak when you feel like speaking. If you wait for just a little while, you may lose it. So it's better to speak when you feel like speaking. So this was the progression, and this is why one should think and one should know that a converter of analog to digital can never convert digital to analog. It is not possible. They took something out that they can't even see. They can, of course, feel air. They can feel something that has fire, but they cannot feel ether. They cannot feel the mind. They cannot feel the intelligence. And they cannot see their own false ego thinking that they can do something. So they'll always be thinking, I've done it, when they've never done anything. Not in an angry mood, because we need the communication, and we're grateful to their work and everything, but not to be fooled and blinded. Not to be fooled and blinded that they've done such and such so beautiful. No, they've actually done so much harm that we can't even imagine what harm is also being done. Okay, I just leave it there and put it out. I always like some questions or something like that. If you put it in the commentary, I'm just a regular old devotee. I don't look up. I can see how many people have listened to it or something, but it's just better just to go to the description, see my address, and send it to me. If you have a comment, you have something to add, something that I should understand, then you just be kind to me and send me in either my WhatsApp or my email, and then that way I'll see it easier than in the commentary. So anyways, it's right there in the description. I usually send it out. Okay, I thank you very much. Have a nice day. This is tomorrow is going to be about right here at the riverbank. It's going to be about 2 degrees centigrade at night. This night will be about 4 or 5 degrees centigrade, but tomorrow it's going to be about 2 centigrade, and that's about as low as I've seen it this whole winter. But it's getting close to the freezing point. And of course, then it's coming up. The sun, it makes your heart feel good. The sun on the 14th of January will be back in our area, going up. Yeah, going north, what is it, tropical Cancer, or okay, or Capricorn? I don't know which one, what the name it is, but it's the northern. Above the equator is also another division, and the sun on the 14th will pass that division, coming north, and bring a nicer weather. Okay, thank you very much, and you please have a good day. when you get a feeling for this, you know, those plants right there, they're giving me analog oxygen. They are giving me real oxygen full of life. So I'm very grateful that I have so many good friends here that are producing the oxygen that helps me to exist. You cannot get the same analogous oxygen from a machine. I'm sad to say, but there's no substitute. And it only becomes a disturbance. It's like putting fire into gasoline, because it doesn't have the balance. It doesn't have the balance. And I understand it's hard to understand the out-breath of the Lord and the in-breath of the Lord and the importance of it. But one is a division. But you can see the division. The division is false ego, then it divides. The same false ego appears the intelligence. The same false ego appears like mind. The same, in other words, all the way down, it is dividing itself. It appears like that way. Actually, it's all there. It's just it appears that way, that it's dividing itself into itself. And then, on the way back, it again accumulates itself going to the primary. It accumulates from earth going into water, water going into fire, fire going into air, air going into ether, and then up the ladder. Mind, intelligence, and false ego. You know, I know it's like a difficult concept, but when one starts trying to understand it, you get a feeling for it. You get a feeling for the importance. And just if people get a feeling for the importance of what is natural, what is analog, why should we love it so much? Because it's lovable. It's very lovable. That's another ingredient that is not apparent, that is not in something that is digital. That cannot be copied. Love cannot be copied. Actually, you can even say hate cannot be copied. Hate, anger, fear cannot be copied. That realm, actually in the quantum theory realm, they fear one thing. In the quantum theory realm, there is no way to get the computer to say this is the right thing to do and this is the wrong thing to do. It cannot be done in the quantum theory realm. So there is no right or wrong. So that makes for a pretty pretty bad situation. Especially when you're on the receiving end and somebody's just killing you and doesn't think it's wrong. Or something less gross, but still doesn't have a feeling for it's being wrong. So that's in the quantum realm. If we didn't have the realm that we are in, we would not be able to feel loving exchange. We wouldn't appreciate, we wouldn't respect, we wouldn't, all these emotions, it wouldn't be there. And digital takes them away. Yeah. It's, there's so many angles to approach this, and there's so many things to say about it. Okay. Thank you very much.